Good morning, and I want to welcome everyone to this function to confer the award of Distinguished Alumnus on Dr. Anant Agarwal. He was actually selected for the award in 2014, but was unable to make it to campus on Institute Day when we usually confer the DA awards. And we're glad that he has been able to make time, I guess, a detour from the Middle East to visit us today and pick up his award. And we want to welcome him to campus and hope to see more of him in future. And I will invite the director to say a few words, and then Hari will read the citation. Then you can give a rebuttal for your citation.
Thank you, Nagarajan. So it was a great pleasure for us and for me in particular to be part of this award function today. Ananth was just 2 years junior to me in the department, and he was a sort of a rising star even as a student. We all were, I was aware that there was a guy called Ananth who's doing very well and so on. Then he went on to Stanford. When I was studying there, I had some feedback about how he's doing. I think he rose very quickly there, doing excellent work. I actually after that lost touch once you went to MIT to figure out, I was not following what you were doing, but then your work started showing up again, particularly your work on processors and all of that stuff. And of course, more recently in the last 2-3 years, you've been all over the place because of this effort in MOOCs and edX. So, we are very, very proud as an institution, as the institute that gave you your first degree. And the electrical engineering department is also very proud of what you have done. And of course, you're only halfway through it, so we are hoping to see a lot more stuff to come out of you. And I join Nagarajan in hoping that you will spend more time with us and partner with us much more, and work with the department, help us to improve our output further in every way possible. And and I know it's been a little late because you've been very busy, but better late than never. Very happy it's happening today. Thank you.
Professor Anant Agarwal obtained a BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Madras in 1982 and went on to do his MS and PhD at Stanford, obtaining his doctorate in 1987. He has been a faculty at MIT since January 1988. Professor Agarwal has taken many innovative technologies out of academia into startups, and he is the founder of Tilera Corporation, which created the Tile multicore processor. He also led the Carbon project, which developed new scalable multicore architectures and operating system for multicore and clouds called FOSS, and also a distributed parallel simulator for multicore and clouds called Graphite. So, having achieved quite a bit of eminence in this, he then changed his attention to education. He is currently the president of edX, a worldwide online learning initiative of MIT and Harvard. This online learning platform is designed to offer courses featuring video lesson segments, embedded quizzes, immediate feedback, student-ranked questions and answers, online labs, and student-paced learning. Ananth is a visionary and a strong proponent of the blended learning model and the MOOCs, massive online open courses, which can, we hope, revolutionize education. Especially for India, it's an option we have to consider very seriously. He has won numerous awards for his teaching, research, and entrepreneurial successes. And his work on organic computing was selected by Scientific American as one of the 10 world-changing ideas in 2011. He has been named as Forbes' list of top 15 education innovators in 2012. And he has won many teaching honors at MIT, including the Smullin and Jamieson awards. In recognition of Professor Anant Agarwal's outstanding career in multiple roles as a superb teacher, visionary in education, researcher, and path-breaking technologist, IIT Madras Electrical Engineering Department and its alumni are proud to confer him this award.
this is a really big honor to be presented with this award. When we were going through IIT, it's amazing how those were the completely formative years of our life. Not many of you know, but I grew up in Mangalore. Even though with an Agarwal, you're wondering. A lot of people wonder what is an Agarwal born in UP, lived in Mangalore, but then studied in Madras. So I'm a complete hodgepodge. So I can speak many languages. I can understand Tamil and Malayalam, and speak Telugu, Kannada, Konkani, Hindi, and English, of course. So when I first came to IIT, I'm not sure how I got in. From what I heard, almost everybody who gets in, wonders must have been a fluke. I was one of them. In my case, I think it was really a fluke. I did my SSLC in Mangalore. The standard wasn't very good. Not many people got in from Mangalore. I'm not sure I got in. So 300 students that year got into IIT Madras. And all 300 have to take introduction to physics. So Professor Natarajan, right? I think you should close your ears. I still remember. So we used to have periods, 3 periods a semester. And the first period in the physics exam, all 300 students took it. And 2 students failed that exam. So the first period, this was my first exam at IIT, 2 students failed it, and I was one of them. So at that point, I thought my life was over. So, but thank God that at least we used to have only 2 out of 3 periods counted, and that was a real life changer. It saved my life. So I said, okay, let's see how the other 2 happen, and so I managed. So from that start, IIT was a 5-year program, and I certainly made the most of everything here. And from electrical engineering, people like Rao and Reddy really instilled a love for electrical engineering for me. One of you was pointing out to something I built called the light pen, which I think Focus had written about, and you're bringing back all these memories from those days. I also worked in IIT. Was maybe in those days it was a 5-year program, so it was a little more relaxing. I think it wasn't as hectic. I don't think we worked that hard, did we, Sriram? So, and so we found time to do all kinds of things. Nowadays it's 4 years, so I think it's more packed and people are maybe more stressed, but it was quite relaxing in those days. We had time to do all kinds of things. So I also got a love for computer science. I'm not sure he's here anymore, but there was a professor who in the microprocessor lab. So I used to hang out and did some microprocessor work with him. And so we tried our hands at all kinds of things, just to go wandering around and try this lab, try that lab. It was amazing how much we were able to explore in IIT, and not just what we learned in the classroom, but also explore. And the teachers were all really inspirational. For me, particularly in circuits. Although I did not end up doing circuits, I think part of my life has been, for some reason or the other, every few years, my life keeps changing. So I thought I would do, you won't believe it, one of my top choices was UC Santa Barbara. And I wanted to work with Glenn Wade on the signal processing, and I think he worked on medical image processing, Fourier optics as well. So I wanted to work with him, and then so I couldn't choose between VLSI at Stanford or working with Glenn Wade in Santa Barbara. I ended up going to Stanford doing VLSI. And then I switched, I began to work with John Hennessy. He was a young professor at Stanford, and now he's the president of Stanford. So I was one of his very first students. And then I gradually kept moving into computer science, and most recently I was the director of the computer science and artificial intelligence lab at MIT. And then I just became the director of the of CSAIL, and within 1 year the whole MOOCs thing happened. So I wasn't into education. We did education on the side, but the research was the main thing. My work was on parallel computing. And then MOOCs came along. And so I decided that this looks very exciting. This can really change the world. And I saw a lot of the discussion about MOOCs being done with proprietary for-profit operations. And to me, I've always been helping India was always very important to me, and I felt that a country like India could benefit more than any other country with free education available to everybody. And my own experience, where I came to IIT Madras and actually failed my first exam, was really telling for me, because I simply did not have the background. Now that I look back, everybody in the class knew calculus. I had not learned calculus. And so I was trying to solve the physics problems, where the physics professors assumed that we knew, you take a function of x in position versus time, and you differentiate it, you got velocity. I did not know that. So I was trying to say, okay, how do you convert an x function in x into velocity? And I was trying all kinds of, I said, I had no idea how it worked. Everybody said a very easy exam, and turned out I had not done any calculus. And so to me, since that day, I've been hoping that to be able to help students, that anybody in the world should have access to basic knowledge. So when they get into a university, they have the basic skills to be able to do well on the campus. And so to me, that was very important. So helping India was really, really important. And so that's when we launched. So I launched edX, and I convinced MIT and Harvard to invest $60 million into it. And I stepped down as the director of CSAIL after 1 year. At a research group with 20 students, I stepped away from that. I stepped away from teaching. I stepped away from everything to start edX, and to create that as a non-profit and open source platform. So then the basic idea was I wanted to be an open source platform so that any country, anybody could take the software and call it their own. So they could run it locally. They don't have to give edX any credit. They can go to our website, download the software, and completely run it as if it's their own. To me, that was very important. And to me, thinking of India and the Indian student was always in the back of my mind. And so when the press asked me very much, what was the reason you got into this? So really point to that physics exam at IIT Madras, and how there must be a lot of students like that don't have access to coaching classes or very high quality private schools and so on. And a lot of kids have a lot of potential. And so I think we can really do a lot to help kids. And which is why we launched edX as a non-profit open source platform. And certainly, so I'm really delighted that I'm able to close the loop, so to speak, come back on campus. I've been here a few times. I was back here for our 25th anniversary in 2007. I was very, very proud to hear about the amazing stories about NPTEL. Although I'm really shocked that I did not meet Mangal Sundar and others. I think Ananth was the director at that time, and NPTEL was really a real star of IIT Madras. So we were all extremely proud to see the progress that IIT was doing. And really, I think there's 2 or 3 or 4 universities that are leaders in this. I think NPTEL is one. I think CMU with Open Learning Initiative is another one. I think MIT with Open Courseware. I would say 3. There's really not too many others that really have a big initiative in open learning content. So it's really, really pleasing that, at least for me, my life has, I've been able to close the loop, starting with electrical engineering here, and then coming back and being able to partner in education as well. So one very last quick story. When we launched edX, there's a journalist from Bombay who was talking to me, and he said, this looks like a real insidious plan of the United States. I said, what do you mean? They said, your plan is to have all the student data, to have all the students all over the world taking these courses, get all the data, and then, this is like global control, global US hegemony. And so I laughed and I told him, yes, and you think they would put an Indian in charge of that, right? And so, so anyway, I don't think the journalist got that joke, but so I was trying to explain to him that really it was truly to give everything away, and he didn't understand the open source concept. But the open source concept truly is giving it away. You're giving up control. So anybody can take it, and they can take the software and evolve it in any direction. It's really losing control. So that was very important to us. So thank you again. I really appreciate the honor, and it is incredible to be recognized by colleagues and so on. And again, I really thank you and appreciate this. Thank you.
So the floor is now open for remarks, comments, accolades. Anybody wants to say anything?
No IIT Janta jokes, okay? No secrets. Yeah, exactly.
All we can say that we have been seeing him for last. My only thing is that he has to. India is a very peculiar country. A lot of changed since he has left. So probably he needs a little how to go about helping. I think he has a basic thing there. Of course, we have to take it up from here, and to some extent we have to do it. To some extent, he has to understand so that he can actually make a difference. For India, it's a major problem because in India, when you graduated from here, there were only 15,000 engineering students entering college every year. There were less than, I don't know how many, 60, 70 colleges. Today we have over 4,000 engineering colleges. And we have 1.7 million students entering college every year. And if you go beyond engineering, other technical education, management, pharmaceutical, it becomes much, much more. The good part is that we have got the quantity. The good part is that we have got the equity. Let me tell you that there will be the women who work at homes here as maid servants, in at least probably 25% of them, their children will be studying in engineering college. 25% of the children who goes to these engineering colleges are from below poverty line. That's a rough estimate.
This is in the future.
All over the country.
Even now.
1.7 million, 25%.
So how are they able to afford private
I'll
college?
come to that in a minute,
Yeah.
if you want me to. And 25% are from rural areas. So we have got equity also. Not just quantity, but quantity and equity we have got. And we have a serious problem with quality. And basically, with this fast expansion, we just don't have good teachers, we don't have good management, there are language issues, all kinds of issues. The only good part that I can say is that there is some statistics that 80 to 85% of the students who graduate from these colleges, 5 years after they graduate, are doing quite well. So it doesn't matter which college you graduate from. So that they take time after that, because if they have come from very poor college, they take time. They may not get this.
You have to learn on the
They are
job.
suddenly in the middle class. If they come from lower middle, this is probably the biggest migration from lower middle class to middle class has happened because of this kind of. It's a very big phenomenon. It's not something that can be ignored. It's playing a transformative role. And I think what you are trying to do and what your help can make a huge difference in bringing quality. If you want to become a country which can stand up on its own feet and be counted as equal all over the world, it has to be able to train its youngsters in numbers, not just in IITs. So that we have trained you, that's not good enough. I think we need to train in numbers. We need to significantly improve the quality. And I think that is where I think your effort becomes very, very valuable. Only thing is that little bit understand the kind of problems that the students who get 45% marks in their school exam are entering engineering. So one may say, well, very difficult. They don't. I remember taking your class lectures and trying to play in the QEEE to a lot of students. They're absolutely the best lectures that I have seen. But a lot of students are not able to comprehend that. So we have to figure out what to do. We can't leave them behind saying they are poor.
This is a criticism about NPTEL lectures. That is pitched too high.
No, the IIT, because if you don't do that, the students will get bored.
So I think
we don't know any
we have to
other.
figure this out, how to help these people and how to keed on pushing the quality up.
a way of
So I
going
think
step by step,
this is what we really need to
So I
do.
think the key there, and we are discovering this at edX, which is that IIT and MIT lectures are targeted at a given kind of student. As we broadened our partnership model, we brought in many universities where the pass rate of students is 50 to 60% only. And so there they have very accessible courses. So they're not targeting to the top 1%, but they're really targeting the content to a different cadre of students. Now, it's not for us to argue whether one kind of course is better or not. It's just simply accessible at a different level to a different cadre. And we simply need to create the right set of courses that will target different kinds of audiences.
First graduate scheme, it's actually a central scheme. It's a central scheme operated by the state government. This has happened in last
But
10
still the
12
person
years.
has to find money because these colleges are private colleges, they charge for other things.
In fact, I've heard many of them charge for content as well. So.
No, they charge for bus and the food and all that. So usually these guys, but still that amount they need to raise is about another 25-30,000 rupees a year.
But it's smaller than.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Even less than that, Bhaskar. I've been watching
So
now and
it's not bad.
doing
they
some-
borrow, they do something. It's not very difficult.
And the first graduate in a family, their fees is. So
Wow.
there is whole lot of different schemes. The point is that we
Equity,
can't
right.
leave them behind. While we have to
Right,
push
right,
IIT up and push these students up, we can't leave them
No, you can't do that. Right.
So I think, and I think what you have done, we're very proud because I think you have triggered a approach of interactive. I think the key thing that you have brought in is a platform of interactive learning where good teachers and students at scale can learn. We have to just now figure it out to take different sections of students up using that. Very proud of you. I mean, I
Thank
think
you.
every time I've seen, I've been probably every two to 3 years, I land up seeing you at Boston. Very proud.
Language. Even at IIT, students who have studied in vernacular languages struggle a lot. And I'm not sure, unless there is a way by which the language is inserted in these models, it will become difficult for those students to do well. That's something also to be thought about.
No, that's a very good point, and something I had not realized until about 1 year ago. See, because we all live in a world, and you self-select the kind of people you work with and those who you meet and talk to. And frankly, even in India, for the at least the years that I was here, to pass the joint entrance exam, there was an English exam. Maybe it didn't count for too much, but if you were not good at English, you could not come in through the JEE. So in some sense, the JEE joint entrance exam filtered out a lot of the students who were not good in English. So your point is very well taken. And we've also done a lot of surveys of students all over the world, not just India, but BRIC, Brazil, India, China, Russia, and many other countries. And you won't believe the number one course that people want. What do you think is the number one course that is demanded by India, by Brazil, by China, by Russia? Name the country, the number one course. It is not introduction to marketing. It is not introduction to Java. It is basic English. And we can teach it online. So now we have about half a dozen English courses, both reading, writing, public speaking. So all of these things can be done online, and you can. So people, once you build a peer grading interface on the platform, professors have students post even speech patterns, onto websites like SoundCloud. SoundCloud is a YouTube for audio. So professors are having students post their sentences on SoundCloud and peer grade each other. So we can teach language and public speaking and writing also online. And you're absolutely right. I think that is going to be very critical to expand access to more. The second part of that is translation, which is for all the. This is not so bad in India, but in China this is very important, where the language is the language of the world. The technical language is English, and so it's very hard to do a technical program without English. And so we now have a big program to translate all the transcriptions and captions into multiple languages, and I think that will also increase the access.
I think the question should be, can engineering education happen without this language barrier? My take on this is, the answer is yes. We can have engineering education without language coming into the picture, because we have seen European countries doing it. China is also able to do. Of course, there are technical terms that they use. I think there should be a way by which it should be possible for us to get across these boundaries that we have already formed in terms of language. And quite a few students in the rural areas, suburban areas, go through vernacular language medium till the 12th standard. They are the ones who struggle.
Again, it's a debate that I'm not qualified to get into, but there's a debate in the world, particularly in Brazil, for example, where the current minister, the Prime Minister of Brazil, her view is that every Brazilian should learn English. Because they view that English has become the international language of commerce. Even if you learn engineering in the vernacular, you will not succeed in the world, because for global commerce and global programming and everything else, it's all English. So at some point you're going to get hit, and you're going to hit a glass wall. And so her view, and that of many other countries, is to teach English. France actually is falling behind because they took the vernacular view. So France is actually falling behind in the world. However, I'm not qualified to judge the vernacular versus the other ones. Anybody else? So today, it's actually very inexpensive to do that. There's a company in California that will dub a person's lecture through crowdsourcing into multiple languages. It simply costs $2 a minute. So it's very, a typical course for $5,000, a typical course can be dubbed into any language, so it can be done. And now, so I've watched movies in various languages with dubbing, and it's not too bad. So I think a small amount of money can solve that problem.
We have also found, there's evidence already in NPTEL, that if you transcribe into the local languages,
that can also help.
No, it helps two ways. It helps them understand. It also helps them improve their English, because they're constantly learning by the mapping
And going back and forth.
Yeah. And it serves that purpose. That for they're doing this all the time, then their English also improves. In fact, there's enough evidence that even people watch TV, learn
with the subtitles. Because I think Hindi movies or Tamil movies and so on are helping people learn many languages.
So I think that's what NPTEL is doing, transcribing everything.
I think providing so one is to put to actually dub, which is about it's about more like $3 per minute. Transcription is much cheaper. Transcription is about $1 per minute, and so it's 1/3 the cost. So there again, we should just transcribe everything.
That is a minimum you have to do.
Minimum that in multiple languages.
It really helps. I think the English learning also improves. Because you're right. They all are very conscious that they want to be competent in English. So this serves as a very.
So we are also finding that when we release a course in a country, and the course has transcription available in the local language, enrollment in the course from that country goes up by 400%.
Yeah. I think what you say, that translation is important, but it comes over a period of time, the communication ability. What we have as a serious problem is the students themselves not knowing whether they know the subject or whether they know how to express the subject in English. That difference is not clear to them. So I think it is important, that's what he said, speak in whatever language or express your ideas in whatever language. Over a period of time, you learn how to communicate. I think it's important with your platform and with whatever developments that we do, we create the cognitive abilities of the students, address them as soon as possible at the earliest, and leave communication processes for them to build up. The idea of having an English lecture with an Hindi transcript subtitle is one of the examples of mapping English and Hindi or English and Gujarati and things like that. So I think the way you are running, it's necessary for us to build the middle level learning processes which we have not built in the NPTEL. In the NPTEL, we give a set of course contents. Professor Ashok has been trying to get that middle level, college level interaction directly. I think if we can create a lot of small MOOC level subjects where a local teacher explains a good concept in the language or in the community of his, I think you need to do that. You have to make, unless you make that kind of
that is good too. So they'll say it in English and then they'll say it in the local
I think
language.
so.
They'll go back and forth.
Because every college I visit in Tamil Nadu, half my conversations on NPTEL and various other things is actually in Tamil. The first question I ask, how many of you here do not speak Tamil? Almost no hands go up. Everybody speaks Tamil. Everybody understands it. My conversation for the rest of the time is in Tamil.
Half in Tamil, half in English.
It's as much in Tamil. Of course, I studied also science in Tamil for quite a number of years. I think it's important to have this communication, but more important to tell the students, this is important. Express that in the language of your choice, but express it. Show that you have understood the ideas. I think there, the MOOC will be very, very helpful.
The other thing is, for computer science colleagues, there's a very important research area which is natural language processing, where technology is now almost there to be able to use machine translation of transcripts into multiple languages. Once that happens, it will become very effective. So we work with a company called 3Play. So what 3Play does is they first use, so it's an MIT spin-out from the natural language group. They actually first use automatic translation into transcription, and then they use crowdsourcing to actually improve the quality of the transcript. But so we can even encourage computer science people to create technologies to make it easier. Emma? Yes, that's yes. Oh, yes.
Even dubbing can be done through this open source.
Yes.
Yeah, can be done.
That way it will be
yes, so
possible
fact, we use an open platform called it's called Transifex. So in Transifex you can put all your strings there, and then it's a free open source. Everybody can go in and change and do things in a crowdsourced manner. They provide a platform to do that. They can do it for multiple languages. That's how we translated the platform to about a dozen languages.
I want to thank everyone for coming for this ceremony. Thanks again.
Thank you.